Hey, Canucks fans, how confident are you in the Canucks goaltending for this season? I'm Canuck Clay. This is my Canucks take on one take. It's Clay's Canucks commentary for Wednesday, September the 28th. If you're new, here's what you should do. Hit the subscribe button now for daily Canucks insight that's positive, timely, and trustworthy. Don't forget to join me tonight at 11 p.m. for my nightly live stream right here on my YouTube channel, 11 p.m. Pacific. Hope to see you there. Before I get into the goaltending, I want to talk about the Canucks lines, and many of you gave some great feedback to my video yesterday as to why and how intrigued, how interested, how invested you are in the Canucks lines. As I mentioned yesterday, I like learning about the lines. I like reading about them. I like studying them because usually you practice as you play. So what Bruce Boudreau and Travis Green before him, what they would roll out at practice was often what you'd see during the game. And I get it. We're right in the middle of exhibition season as opposed to regular season. So you have to take everything with a grain of salt. They might be experimenting. But having said all that, with no Besser, Mikheyev, or Dermott at practice, at least Pullman came back, which was good. This is how the Canucks lined up today. So today, the first line was still Miller, Pearson, and Garland. The second line was Horvat with Podkolzin. And then on their right was Lazar and Hoglander kind of alternating. And then Boudreau hinted that Horvat's not playing tomorrow against Seattle. So my guess is Lazar will play in the middle, and then he'll have the two youngsters, Podkolzin and Hoglander, on his wing. So let's go with Lazar, Hoglander, and Podkolzin as the second line. Then your third line was interesting, or the third line listed was Pettersson and Kuzmenko, and then taking Mikheyev's spot was actually Linus Karlsson, the Pettersson's fellow Swede. So it looks like Karlsson might get into the lineup tomorrow night, which would be exciting. And then the fourth line, of course, of Jason Dickinson, Dakota Joshua, and Phil DiGiuseppe. I think Neil Zaman was taking some shifts there, but I expect it to be DiGiuseppe, unless they want to give Neil Zaman a look tomorrow night as well. Then on D, remember, Dermott's out. So then you still had OEL with Hughes. And then, interesting, a bit of a switch in the other three. Rathbone and Schenn weren't together. Schenn actually played with Myers. Rathbone played with Kyle Burrows, and then DeKaiser played with Pullman. So try and figure those out. Oyel and Hughes, DeKaiser and Pullman. Is that your second pairing? Schenn Myers. No, maybe that's your second pairing. And then DeKaiser Pullman is your third pairing. And then Rathbone playing with Kyle Burrows. You could argue that might be your fourth pairing. So we'll see how the Canucks line up tomorrow. I don't think I'll have a chance to vlog tomorrow before the game, as I'm at an all-day workshop planning meeting out in Surrey, but we will see what happens. So I always spend so much time talking about the forwards and the injuries and the line combinations and how much they've improved over the offseason. Then we spend a lot of time talking about the D, kind of the opposite, worrying if they're going to be good enough, but then we get excited because Hughes might play on the right side. Then we find out that Dermott's injured and DeKaiser's still around somehow. So there's all that as well. So I know we've been spending a lot of time talking about the forwards and talking about the D. Today I want to spend a few minutes talking about the goaltenders. And my question to you simply is, presuming it's Thatcher Demko, backed up by Spencer Martin, how confident are you in that tandem for this season? Now, Martin's on a 2-year, really cheap contract. Yes, it's awesome for the team, especially if you can outplay that contract. We still have Braden Holtby's buyout money on our cap. We still have Yaroslav Halak's bonus money on the cap. So one more year of that, and then they'll be wiped off, just like Luongo's cap recapture penalty. Why is it us with goalies an extra cap, cap carrying? Anyways, so Demko's making his $5 million, Martin's making his $800,000. So that's pretty good when you look at just those two guys. If you can get top-notch goaltending for under $6 million, then that's a great thing. But my question to you Canucks fans is, will they get top-notch goaltending? And I think we'd agree. We're not talking about Thatcher Demko here. We have no worries about him. I've seen him ranked actually is basically right at the cusp of being in the top tier. If you'd say the top tier of goaltenders are Vasilevsky and Shesterkin and Saros and Hellebuck, I've seen Demko listed with the next tier of guys like the Jacob Markstroms of the world. So let's say that Demko's right there in the top 10, maybe even knocking on the door of the top 5. So that's great. So I don't think we're worried about him. And it's funny to hear Demko's so humble. He's even saying, even though he was amazing last year, he was our MVP, him and JT Miller, he was saying that he just thought he had an okay year. And he talks about, wanting to make the playoffs. And that's what you want to hear from your goaltender. So let's not worry about Thatcher Demko. Spencer Martin's the wild card here. You guys know how much I like him, and not just because I met him at the golf tournament and he said that him and his family watch my video. So Spencer Martin, if you're watching this video, shout out to you and thank you for being such a cool guy. I like Spencer Martin a lot. Again, not just because he might be watching this video. He showed well in his 6 games last season. He went 3-0-3, so he did not lose a single game in regulation. He won 3 of them and lost 3 of them in overtime or shootout. And very efficient with his movement, 950 save percentage, never looks out of place, out of control, all those good things. But we have to be realistic. He's barely played in the NHL. He has 9 NHL games under his belt. Even though he's not the youngest guy ever, he's taken some time to get to the league. And hopefully, obviously, he gets in the league and he stays in the league. So he's only had 9 NHL games. So we don't know how well he's going to do when it becomes the daily grind of traveling with the team or having to play on the second night of a back-to-back when your team's tired in front of you, or maybe having to come in and spot a Thatcher Demko to give him some rest, or if Demko's having a bad game for whatever reason. So there's all these things that we haven't seen from Spencer Martin yet, but we will see this season. Now, people ask me, well, what's ideal? How many games starts for Demko? How many games for Martin? I always use in my head a 2/3, 1/3. So if 82 games, I'd love to see Demko start 55 and Martin start 27, and that makes you 82. And that's, of course, not including any other goaltender. This is just talking about these two. Let's say that maybe Demko's number creeps up closer to 60. So maybe you're looking at a 60-22 split as opposed to a 55-27 split. But for my purposes, let's go with 55-27. Then you're saying, well, how many games does each goalie have to win? Well, if I'm targeting the Canucks to get 98 points, that's basically 44, 28, and 10. So 98 points is 16 games over 500. So 44, 28, and 10. So if I'm saying Demko's going to start 55 games and Martin's going to win 27, and then we have to start 27 games, and we have to get 44 wins out of that, could you say that Demko gets 30 and Martin gets 14, almost the same ratio, 2-1? So that means Demko would have to win 30 out of 55 games. That sounds doable to me. And then Martin would have to win 14 of his 27, basically half. So that sounds realistic to me as well, considering he went 3-0-3. That's half, even though he got 9 points out of 12 games last season. So that's kind of the ballpark, the benchmark I'm looking at. Presuming Demko starts 55 and Martin starts 27, then Demko would have to win 30 of those 55, just over half, and Martin would have to win 14 out of 27, his half. And then there's your 44 wins for 88 points plus 10 extra time points as well. So when I laid out like that, Canucks fans, do you think that's realistic? I do. I definitely think Demko's good for 30 wins. I'd like to see Demko higher, closer to 35, 36, 38 wins. 40 wins would be amazing. I don't think that's going to happen. But imagine a 35 or 36 win season for Demko. Then Martin only has to win 10 or 12 games. But I do think Martin can win more than that. I do think Martin can win half of the starts, even as a backup. And that puts you at your 14 wins for Martin, and then your 88 points from wins plus 10 extra time. So let me know, Canucks fans, if you like those numbers, or do you think I'm way off? Do you think Demko is going to start way more than 55, or do you think we're going to expect him to win more of his 55 or 60, and therefore Martin won't have to win as many to get to that magic number of 98 points? At least that's the number I have in my head. Canucks fans, let me know. I didn't even get a chance to talk about Seelovs and Colin Delia and Michael DiPietro and Ty Young. We'll save that for another video. I do think, though, spoiler alert, I do think the Canucks are pretty set. They have a nice path, succession path going forward after Demko's current contract ends, which is still another 4 years. What happens? Is it Seelovs? Is it Martin? Is it a combination of both? Or maybe it's someone else from the organization. So we'll save that for another vlog. For today, would love to know what you think about Canucks goaltending. How many games do you think each goalie needs to start? And how many starts do you think each goalie has to win for the Canucks to make the playoffs? And if the math works out, that's even better, because then that means it's a realistic take. I want to give a shout out to my sponsors, Van City Experts Real Estate, and to Perform and Transform Personal Training Weight Loss. Thank you to legendary Lucas Gates, legendary Justin Credible, legendary Andrew Chang, and to Hall of Fame and franchise members as well. And thanks to all of you for continuing to watch and support me on this channel. And don't forget to join me tonight at 11 p.m. Pacific for my nightly YouTube live stream. Subscribe if you'd like to, like this video if you'd like to, become a member, upgrade if you'd like to, leave a tip, a super thanks if you'd like to, and leave a comment down below if you'd like to, your predictions, your thoughts on what the Canucks goalies have to do to get the Canucks into the playoffs. I'm not talking about play well. I'm talking about how many games do each guy have to win and also start. Finally, if you made it this far in the video, almost 10 minutes in, goalies, let's say shutout, because that's one way to get a win in the NHL is to backstop the team to a shutout. So type in the word shutout into the chat, and then I know you made it to the end of this video. Okay, friends, stay safe, stay healthy, take care of yourselves, and take care of each other. See you tonight at 11 p.m. God bless, and go Canucks Go.